Hey guys, video number 12 for the Who is Israel series. One of the big things and the arguments for people is so much of Isaiah and Ezekiel and Jeremiah prophesy of the covenants one day pertaining just to the physical nation of Israel. Well, we always use the New Testament to shed light on the Old and to see the Old come to fruition in prophecy, especially with the revelation of John in the last book of the Bible. And so a lot of times we can take some of these, some of the prophets like Isaiah and see things that were prophesied and see them come to pass. And one of the examples we have of that shows that it is the Gentiles that will inherit those promises that once physical Israel thought just pertained to them. In Isaiah chapter 60, verse 3, it says, "And the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and kings to the brightness of thy rising." In Isaiah chapter 66, verse 12, the Bible reads, "For thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will extend peace to her like a river, and the glory of the Gentiles like a flowing stream. Then shall ye suck, ye shall be borne upon her sides, and be dandled upon her knees, as one whom his mother comforteth, so I will comfort you, and ye shall be comforted in Jerusalem." We see the fruition of this in Revelation chapter 20, where it talks about, and let's look at verse 23. It says, "In the city," speaking of New Jerusalem, "hath no need of the sun, neither of the moon to shine in it, for the glory of God did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof." Now watch this. "And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it." So who's inheriting this? Who's dwelling in this city? Is it just physical Israel? No, it's the nations of them which are saved, which the book of Isaiah said are the Gentiles. Okay, not just Jews, but Jews, Gentiles, all the nations which are saved being the key word. "And the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor to it." Same wording as we saw in the book of Isaiah. So guys, in the book of Revelation, when we see these promises fulfilled, it's speaking of the nations which are saved, not just the physical nation of Israel, not just Jews, but those that are comprised of the spiritual Israel, which are saved people. And guys, there's so many more verses we can go into on who is Israel, but I think we've shown at least enough in these last 12 videos that you could see that the physical nation of Israel has been replaced with the spiritual nation of Israel, and the spiritual nation of Israel is the nations which are saved, is just saved believers and those that are in Christ. And guys, if you're in Christ, if you've put your faith and trust in Him alone without works as salvation, and you believe in Jesus Christ as the promised Messiah, as God manifest in the flesh, who bore the sins of not just the whole world, but you personally. He died, He was buried, He rose again, and your faith and trust is in that and only that, in the gospel to save you, then you are part of the nations of them which are saved, and you are part of spiritual Israel and are entitled to every single promise ever promised to Israel. And you're my brother in Christ, or you're my sister in Christ, regardless of what race you are. So guys, don't let people get this thing in your head, well, God plays favor to one race, or one chosen group of people. If you're saved, you're part of His chosen people, and you should rejoice in that.